Okay. So this video will be over Lab 3. And Lab 3, you know, the number 3 doesn't refer to Chapter 3. It's all about Chapter 4. You really need to have learned the whole Chapter 4 before you can do the pre-lab, or I mean the Lab 3, Lab Report 3. And so you want to read the background information, and especially page 3, you want to read that to know what to do in the tables. Because sometimes there is a note on, you know, some of the molecules that may need something different. So, you know, for me, it's going to be easier to actually have a table under the eyes and explain what is expected. And so we filled a table for you to, you know, use as an example and follow. So you have multiple molecules, and you need to fill a table like that for each of them. And so for everyone, it should be done on paper. I don't expect anyone to send me a report that will be you know, typed. It has to be done on paper. So either you're able to print, and so you print pages 5 to, you know, to the end of the report, or you receive them by mail. You know, for those who could not print, I send them by mail. So make sure you use those paper pages for the Lab 3 report. And so you want to fill them by hand because the models, the 3D models and the Lewis structures, it's too complicated to do on the computer. So you want to do that by hand. So hopefully everybody will have this printed somehow and not have to redraw the tables. So the table for water is done. And what I expect is, first, you will give your total number of valence electrons. So I like to see the details. So you show, for example, for water, hydrogen brings 1 electron. And so the way to know the number of valence electrons that atom brings, you look at the periodic table and the group number. So hydrogen, group number 1A, will bring 1 electron. And there is 2 electrons in the formula, so you multiply by 2. Then oxygen, 6 electrons, there is 1 oxygen, and then you add everything, so it's 6 plus 2, 8 valence electrons that you will need to distribute for the water Lewis structure. Next, you do the Lewis structure, so you actually position your atoms. So water here is a symmetrical molecule. You have the oxygen in the middle, surrounded by the 2 hydrogens. Then you place down your single bonds, subtract that from the total, and I don't need to see that. And then distribute the lone pairs to the outside atom first, and then to the central atom if the outside atoms have their octet, and you still have some electrons to distribute, and your central atom doesn't have an octet yet. So that's the Lewis structure for water. Hopefully you see the 2 lone pairs on oxygen. So next you want to determine the shape of the molecule. And so to determine the molecular geometry, which means the shape, you need to determine the central atom, and typically the central atom is the atom in the center, and here it's oxygen. So you count the number of electron groups around the central atom, and here oxygen is surrounded by 2 single bonds and 2 lone pairs. So it's 4 electron groups in total, out of which 2 are bonds and 2 are lone pairs. And you need to look at the chemical, not the chemical, but the reference information for Chem 121. Hopefully you have that page. So depending on the version of the reference you have, it can be page 4. I'm not sure for those that I sent the packet. I'm not sure which page it is, but it's the page that starts with the electronegativities on top, then the table that allows you to classify bonds according to the electronegativity difference, and then the table 10.1 with the electron and molecular geometries. Do you need me to show that page, or you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, everybody? So you know which reference page I'm talking about, or do I need to show it? Or maybe I can show it quickly. I think it's, no, it's not this. Here. Okay, it's that page, right, where you have electron negativities on top, the table with the electronegativity difference, and the molecular shapes, right? So everybody knows what I'm talking about. So let's go back to this. So so out of this table, maybe I should have it actually. Out of this table, you see that we have so 4 electron groups, 2 bonds, and 2 lone pairs. So you will want to follow the very last line here that says 4 electron groups, 2 bonds, 2 lone pairs. The electron geometry is tetrahedral, but what you see is it's a bent molecule, right? Because the 2 lone pairs are not visible, and what you see are the 2 bonds with the hydrogens, and they are, you know, closer to each other because the lone pairs are pushing away the bonds, and so that's why it's bent with a 109 degree angle. So bent from tetrahedral, that's what you would want to write in the molecular geometry. Once you've done the shape of the molecule, you need to sketch that shape. And so remember that we always try to put as many bonds in the plane as we can. And so here the water molecule is bent. And so all 3 atoms can be in the same paper plane, right? So that's why when you draw it, and here I took this from internet, you place those 2 single bonds as straight lines because they are both in the plane. Oxygen and the 2 hydrogens are in the same plane. And so that's how you would draw that. I don't like the way the lone pairs are drawn. You know, I prefer dots. 2 pairs of dots. And so, because they are in the plane, you don't need wedges, right? And next, you need to determine the electron negativity difference between the bonded atoms. And here we have, you know, OH and OH, right? So you want to calculate the electronegativity difference between oxygen and hydrogen, because there is no need to do, for example, between H and H, right? There is no bond like that. So only do the electronegativity difference for actual bonds. So oxygen has an electronegativity of 3.5. Hydrogen, it's 2.1. You take the difference, it's 1.4. And please don't forget to say, you know, is it polar, non-polar, or a unique bond according to that table here, right? You remember how to use this table that says if the electronegativity difference is between 0.5 and 1.9, it's considered a polar bond. So then you want to say that it's a polar bond, right? So you've decided you have polar bonds, and you need then to identify them in your drawing. So that's what it means by ID polar covalent bonds. Use delta pluses and delta minuses. And so here, because oxygen is the most electronegative element, it's going to be the delta minus around oxygen. and you will have delta pluses around the hydrogens. That's one thing that is graded, so make sure all these details are put in. And then the final thing you need to do is to decide if the molecule as a whole is polar or not. And here, when you see the delta pluses and delta minuses, there's no way it's going to cancel. They are, you know, in opposite directions, right? So the two smaller dipers, they are not drawn there on this figure, but if we had two little arrows showing the polarity of the HO bond, they would be, you know, bent towards the oxygen and following the HO bond. And so those two small arrows, they are pointing upward towards oxygen, and they add up into a net dipole. And the arrow that you see here is representing the net dipole. It represents the polarity of the molecule as a whole, not the polarity of each bond, but the polarity of the molecule as a whole. So you need to show that if you decide that the molecule is polar, and then circle polar or non-polar. So here I added the comment that the two bond dipoles do not cancel, and they add up into a one net dipole arrow. And then you need to show the arrow if you decided that the molecule is polar. If you decide that the molecule is non-polar, you don't need to add an arrow. Okay, so you have to do that for all those molecules. And in particular, when you're done with CO2 and NO2 negative 1, there will be these questions here to fill in page 5. Once you have done your tables for CO2, NO2 minus 1, and H2O, you will want to explain why, even though those three molecules have one central atom and two, bonded atom to that central atom, so 3 atoms in total, why do they have a different shape? You will see that they have a different shape. And so you want to explain why. And for this, basically you want to explain how you use this table, the table that helps you determine the shape of the molecule. Okay, so, and I forgot the step where you need to go to ChemMagick. You want to verify your work using ChemMagick, and so let's go through ChemMagick. And the easiest way to use ChemMagick is to enter the name I gave next to the formulas, and here it's water. So you go to ChemMagick. Here, I hope you see my mouse, but I show name. Sorry. Oh.
Right here.
Thank you. So click name, and then write in the space there where it says aspirin, write water. Okay, and that will change your molecule to water. And you see how you can, put down your mouse and turn the molecule around. So it really helps you, I hope, to see, the shape of the molecule. And one of the things you have to do is see the polarity. So this will help you also decide, if your molecule is polar or if you have polar bonds. And that MEP, I think it means that it maps the electron polarity. So it needs to calculate it. And there you go. It shows you the map of polarity. And so you see how blue here, it's very hard to see, it's small, but it says plus 0.1. It tells you that if it's blue, it means there is a delta plus partial positive charge in that area. And if it's red, it's negative 0.1. So your delta is a negative, delta minus. So where it's red, it's where you have the delta minus, and where it's blue, it's where you have the delta pluses. So you see how it confirms the drawing we have on the paper there. When it's green, it means it's neutral. Of course, because it has to go from one color to the other, it goes through the other colors. But here it confirms that, you know, water is definitely polar, with one area red, the other blue. So that confirms this is polar. And you can also verify that by clicking on the dipole-net. If you click that, it shows you the net dipole of this molecule. So you see how the arrow is pointing, you know, comes out of oxygen and points away from oxygen. But, you know, on your paper, you want to draw the arrow, you know, close, you know, it doesn't have to look like this on the paper. So when you have a non-polar molecule, and when you click dipole-net, you should see no arrow at all, right? And you shouldn't be surprised if it looks like it doesn't do anything. It's because there is no net dipole arrow to show. And, sorry. Oh, that was my, okay. Let's look at an example, I'm going to type methane. Methane is CH4, carbon surrounded by 4 hydrogens. And it's a tetrahedron, and you can see that if, let's put one hydrogen on top here, right? If I put a different hydrogen on top, it still looks the same, right? Whatever the hydrogen you put on top here, it's looking the same. It's a very symmetrical molecule. You see, when I do that, it's symmetrical. Okay, so let's do the MEP, which shows the map of the electron polarity. And you see it's all green. And I told you when it's green, it means it's neutral. And if you look at the electronegativity difference between carbon and hydrogen, it's a difference of 0.4, which is considered non-polar. So the CH bond is non-polar, and that's why there is no polar bonds there. And so the whole molecule looks neutral, and that's what it is, it's neutral. So, and then now if you do the dipole-net, it shows you nothing, just the molecule. It's because there is no net dipole arrow, because the molecule is not polar, right? So this should help you confirm your results that you have obtained on paper. And I think it's really fun to play with that. There is a way to build molecules, but it can get complicated. So the easiest way to use ChemMagick is to enter the name of the molecule as you see it in parentheses next to the formula, right? For example, carbon dioxide. You enter carbon dioxide. And it shows you the molecule of carbon dioxide. So it confirms the shape. You should get a linear shape, obviously, here. With 2 double bonds. So it really should help you, you know, with this lab, right? Do you have questions on this? As I said, because some people maybe are scrambling to, you know, learn chapter 4 and get this ready, I'm okay to move the deadline to 1 or 2 days, you know, farther. It's okay. I'm busy, you know, grading the exam, so I can do that. But it is important to try to stay on top of the schedule. You will see that chapter 5 in particular is a very heavy chapter, very long, and you're supposed to start chapter 5 this week, right? So try to keep, you know, on top of the schedule because there's still other chapters to learn later on. So That's why we have this schedule to try to cover everything. Okay, so